So down to the ending, I was surprised by this story and the characters. And also by the wooden monkeys that live in the tree.
Gnomes, elves, and
The
hordes.
spectacular range of
Best damn barbecue ribs you ever did.
turtle.
Anchors.
Crisco.
Achten Tan. That's ribs from North ribs.
Achten Tan.
Achten Tan.
Episode 2. The Godtree.
The Godtree was one of the first elements that we, as a group, added to the game board. And from the beginning, I was interested in how weird it was and how unexplained. Why was there a tree in the middle of the desert? Why was it the last of its kind? I also love that the first time we mentioned it, it was 200 feet tall. And the second time, it was 400 feet tall. That made me feel like there was a lot there that I could play with and add. No one really knew how tall the tree was. And in my mind, I kind of pictured it as reaching all the way to the sky and possibly beyond, sort of like a Yggdrasil, if I can say that.
Index. The Godtree. The massive tree that grows at the western border of Achten Tan, and under whose shade generations of Achten Tanians have sheltered. As the sole remaining instance of a species whose petrified remains are scattered about the boneyards, the Godtree is the source of much folklore and superstition.
At first, I was playing around with a childless scientist and a happy ending where they decided to have a child, there being nothing more hopeful or dumb than having a child on a dying world. And I was also playing with an idea about someone who is hopeless in this world, climbing the tree and breaking through to another world, which comes from that vision I had of the tree as Yggdrasil, as the connector between worlds. And then as the game went on, the tree just got weirder. It had no seeds. It was possibly hallucinogenic, possibly malevolent, possibly protective. Again, there was a lot of questions about what the tree actually was.
Index. Godfruit. The fruit of the Godtree is remarkable for being seedless, stumping biologists as to how the Godtree managed to propagate itself. The fruit is somewhat edible, but recently a paste has been made from the concentrated juices of the Godfruit. The resulting concoction is a powerful psychedelic with narcotic-like qualities.
Also, it's just like a really big tree in a desert, and that's kind of funny. And that hasn't changed from the beginning of the project to the end.
Welcome to Sounds of the Year Between, your only audio access to the ideas from Tales from the Year Between.
We are also the place to get all your Skullgate Media news, including how to apply to blast off with Tales of the Year Between Volume 2. More on that later.
For now, I'm Dee, that's Terry. Let's start talking.
Absolutely, let's. So, what did we just listen to?
That was the Godtree, or at least the entry concerning it in the Index of Achten Tan, Land of Dust and Bone, and why author Ben Blattberg was so interested in it to begin with. He wrote the spring story, A Genealogy of Trees.
Yeah. Big thank you to our friend Ben for telling us some stuff about how he wrote A Genealogy of Trees and some of the thoughts behind it. The Godtree is one of those interesting things that came up really early on when we were playing the game that we played to generate the world of Achten Tan. And it was just a tree at first, and then suddenly it became very symbolic. As Ben said, it almost felt like an Yggdrasil-style significant thing in this world. Yggdrasil, by the way, starts with a Y and a double G if you want to Google it, but it's the world tree from Norse mythology. It connects the 9 realms, if I remember right, and I think Odin might have hanged himself from it for a bunch of time. I don't know. But the point is, it's a big tree, it's very important, and it has this kind of mythological importance when it comes to connecting things.
Exactly, connections. And that Through people, education, legend, we have a connection to each other, to the world around us, to the past and the future.
For some point, I decided that rather than make the scientist a parallel of the tree, I would make her the mirror image. So where the tree was childless and seedless, I gave my protagonist a child. That also gave me the excuse to have her talking to someone, and then her talking could be teaching, and her teaching could be some excerpts from the bestiaries and monster manuals that my Dungeons & Dragons loving self also wanted to write for this project, with the much needed limitation that all of the bestiary entries I was going to write would have to do with that theme of legacy and connection and ending.
O bright star, hear and learn. The explorer plant sends out questing vines towards light and water. When a questing vine finds such a thriving place, it plants a seedling in a nest of its own nourishing leaves. The questing vine buries itself, the tip of the vine splitting into roots that intertwine with the seedling's own. This seedling will grow and send forth questing vines of its own, but never lose its connection to the parent vine which bore it, which in turn connects to its own parent, and so on.
So at that point, I had my structure in place, and then from there, almost everything else was sort of a surprise to me. To be honest, the last line of the first section stopped me cold because it was so unexpected, but it also made me so excited about what was actually going on that not even I knew. So the story very much ended up in a place that I was not expecting.
In this way, the plants are both alive and part of a greater living web, nourishing each other, transporting water to the thirsty in the dry places, and sap to the hungry in the dark places. Thus, an explorer plant colony may cover an entire countryside, and, so say the elvish professors, there is one colony in the northern forests bigger than the span a wild horse could run in a season. O bright star, now tell me what you have heard and learned.
I have a big problem with stories that have happy endings that feel unearned, but I have as much a problem with stories where things seem grim just because people think that grim equals realism, which ignores a lot of the beauty and courage and love in the world.
O bright star, hear and learn.
It's time for a trailer.
Skullgate Media presents Tales from the Year Between Volume 2, Untitled Space Adventure.
Where the hell are we?
Say that again, right? Captain? Are you seeing these readings? We're on the other side of the galaxy.
And hey, we mentioned that if you wanted to come along on Volume 2 of Tales from the Year Between, then maybe you can. So hey, what you need to do is go to yearbetween.com/applications, and then you basically just need to send us some writing and we will decide whether we like you. Sorry, but that's pretty much what's going to happen.
It's okay. I like you. Index. Achten Tan of the day. Saphira. She. Her. Young kitchen worker who discovered hallucinogenic godfruit paste and popularized its recreational use in some cities.
Anything else to say on the Godtree, D?
Index. Godtree. Addendum. What no one in the town of Achten Tan understands or suspects is that the Godtree is, in fact, an ancient sentient parasite whose ultimate goal is to use the entire population as hosts for its offspring.
Oh, what? That got dark, real fast. I thought the Godtree was like a shelter for people in Achten Tan.
The story totally changed my idea about the Godtree. I really began thinking about it as something melancholy, and by the end of the story, I really saw the Godtree as something more malevolent. Maybe the sort of natural malevolence that we don't really hold to a moral standard, being attacked by a lion, say. Or like one of those bird species that, when it hatches, pushes all of the other eggs in the nest out. Or something like the old ones in the Cthulhu mythos, the monsters who destroy us without even meaning to or even noticing us. This is just part of the tree that occasionally it will kill people. I'm not sure that's actually what's going on, but I kind of feel like that's what's going on with the Godtree. Which again puts it in opposition to the protagonist and her relationship with her daughter, that this tree is self-centered and has a vision of the universe that is founded on nothingness, which might be the actual foundation of the universe, but which does not take into account the meaning we make for ourselves through our connections with each other.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've heard from Ben about how the Godtree formed an important part of Achten Tan in general, but also his story, which is really good. So you should buy Achten Tan, Volume 1 of Tales from the In-Between, and then you can read that story along with a whole bunch of other stories. Now, of course, Tales from the In-Between is a completely collaborative thing. We're trying to do a similar thing here by getting our authors to actually, contribute what they want in the podcast, basically, as you can tell. So let's give them some love. We had a couple of contributors last time, actually, for episode 1, and we never gave them proper credit, which I feel really bad about. So our contributors for episode 1 were...
I'm Chris Van Dyke, founder and president of Skullgate Media, editor-in-chief of Tales from the In-Between. You can follow me on Twitter at AboutRunning, or find me online at cvandyke.com.
Alison Moore is a stay-at-home mum who lives in Minneapolis? I don't know where that is. MN for Americans. She may look sweet and innocent, but her character's no better. She's currently querying her first adult fantasy novel, which you can find out more about on her website, authoralisonmoore.com. That's Alison Moore with 2 L's in the Alison and 2 O's in the Moore. Her Twitter is at MooreWriting89.
Minnesota, Terry. Minneapolis is the city in the state of Minnesota. We Americans keep forgetting we need to start thinking internationally with this project.
Hi, I'm Erin Rayhofer. I write fiction as a response to climate change. My website is lxnishimoto.wixsite.com/mysite.
And of course, our wonderful contributor for this episode was Ben Blattberg, who is...
Hi, I'm Ben Blattberg. I'm a sometimes short story writer, a sometimes improviser, a computer programmer by day, and a dad all the time. If you like this story, check Podcastle episode 417, Archibald Defeats the Churlish Shark Gods. It's an old one, but I don't know, I really like it.
While we're on the subject of contributors, of course, this show is made possible by the family of, the people who wrote Year Between Volume 1, and I'm hoping the people who will write Year Between Volume 2. It's a really, it's a truly collaborative project. Everyone brings something different to the table, and we all create this world together, and it's ridiculous, and it's awesome. So in the spirit of showing some love to some of those people, I'm hoping that what we'll be able to do a bit further down the line is really put a bit of a spotlight on the works that people have done, so you can go and buy them, because that would be cool. Right now, though, one of our close friends, Chapel Orham, has some surgery coming up, quite a significant one. And Chapel has actually also just released on Kindle an omnibus of like 800 pages of 4 books. I haven't read it yet, so I can't tell you that it's good because I don't know for sure, but I know Chapel. Amazing writer, amazing person, and I don't doubt that it's fantastic. So you should do the thing where you go to Amazon and buy that. There's another book as well, The Fire in My Blood, which I have read and which is very good. I can definitely tell you that. But to find out about all the stuff that Chapel has available, go to kavordianlibrary.com. So it's KAVORDIAN library.com, where I'm sure you can find, links to all the stuff. Also on Twitter at Thornton Gibson K. And yeah, I'm sure Chapel would appreciate you checking that out. Much love to you, Chapel, from all of us, and we hope that you'll be back as soon as you're ready and not before.
Yes. Thank you, Terry. Good luck, Chapel. Fingers, toes, etc. crossed. We're all rooting for you. Can't say that internationally. I keep forgetting. That's all our talking today. Have fun. Be well.
I'm Terry, that's Dee, and thank you for listening. And don't forget,
Factum
Factum est
est
bonum.
bonum.
Sounds from the Year Between is a production of Skullgate Media, which is a brand new collective writing thingy trying to change the world, we think. Its founder and editor-in-chief is Chris Van Dyke.
All readings are taken from Volume 1 of Tales from the Year Between, Achten Tan, Land of Dust and Bone.
This episode was written by Dee Gagliardi and edited by Chris Durston. It was produced by those two people working together, and the music for this episode was also written by those two people working together, because teamwork makes the dream work.
Except, I should say, and yes, this is me dropping in later because I forgot to say this, the 2 tracks that you heard in relation to the trailer for Volume 2, those were I Think I Can Help You by The Six Realms and Everywhere You Know by Jeremy Black. Both of those tracks were available on YouTube's audio library, attribution-free and royalty-free. Hooray!
To find out more about what we do, go to yearbetween.com or skullgatemedia.com. See you next time.